on changing how we looked at the property. And part of it was going through the steps of becoming certified. And the first part of it is environmental planning and wildlife habitat management. You have to assess your whole property. What do you have on your property? Water, wildlife, the plants, the animals. How much turf is there? How much concrete is there? What are the building? What's the footprint of the building? We take all that and we plug it in, and they say, okay, here's where we want to look at to provide a better habitat. And we looked at all these things, and they gave us some ideas on what we could do, what we could change, and we had to become certified in those first two categories before we could even move on to certification in the other ones. So that was it was a great exercise in really learning about the property on a different level than just as a golf course. And Red Sky, if you're familiar with it, is a pretty tremendous property. We are winter habitat for elk. And unfortunately, it seems like we're summer habitat for elk too these days. But these are the other categories: chemical use reduction and safety, water conservation, water quality management, outreach and education. So to become fully certified, you have to be certified in each one of these categories before the full certification comes to boot. So it's hole 17 after we did a little restoration project. So as it relates to water conservation and quality protection, the main purpose is to ensure that adequate water supplies for irrigation maintain the health and integrity of water bodies, and that includes rivers, wetlands, streams, lakes, and ponds. What are our goals when we're relating to water conservation in this program? Well, we want to make a commitment to judicious water use, and I think we all do that, whether we're in a golf course setting or on your home lawn. At least we hope we do. Washing cars, things like that. Implementation of sound water conservation practices, and I'll go in a couple of those here in a bit. We want to apply water efficiently. Kevin had mentioned earlier target watering. We don't want to water parking lots. It's not an efficient use of water. We want to eliminate unnecessary water use, non-target, maximize groundwater infiltration. We do that by using certain agronomic processes to keep the soil, keep that percolation rate in the soil so that it's not running off. We want to get that into the groundwater system. And then we want to minimize water loss through runoff, evaporation, and transpiration. So some of our best management practices that we all as golf course superintendents implore is the installation and maintenance of efficient irrigation systems. I think if you look at the Valley in the last 5 or 6 years, all of the courses that were built kind of pre-1990 have all upgraded their irrigation systems. I know Steve just went through a $2 million, $2.5 million irrigation system renovation on his course. I know Eagle Vail has done it. I know Kevin's in the process. So it's a real big thing to really have an efficient system, and the technology has come so far in such a short amount of time that I know a lot of the other golf courses are looking at it. But as you've heard, it's a tremendous expense. So that's one side of it that we need to get on the board. Avoid running irrigation systems at peak evapotranspiration times. So those high ET times, 4, 5, 6 in the evening, when the wind's blowing, it's 85 degrees in July. Those are peak times. Generally, whether you're a homeowner, you're a golf course, you don't want to run your irrigation system then if you could all do without. Fix leaks in a timely manner. It's a simple thing. I'm sure we've all seen neighbors or businesses where you drive past in the morning and the water's going down the road, and the next day you come back and the same water's going down the road. I know it takes labor and money to do that, but something as simple as fixing those in a timely manner can really reduce the amount of water that we're using, both on a golf course and in any irrigation system. And then, as Kevin pointed out, reduce irrigated acreage. We took on a big naturalization project, is what we call it, at Beaver Creek. And we looked at the areas on the golf course that would not affect playability, which means would not slow down golf significantly, wouldn't cause people to lose balls every time they hit. And at the same time, if we naturalize these areas, what would we benefit out of it besides, possibly getting a warm and fuzzy about less turf grass. And what it comes down to is we saved a whole lot of money, okay? We don't put fertilizer on those areas, so we save money right up front on those fertilization costs. We're not watering, so we're conserving water, which is a good thing, but we're also not running our pumps to pump that excess water on those portions of property. And we're creating wildlife habitat, whether it's for rodents or snakes or frogs or what have you. It's a win-win-win. And when we looked at the cost, over 2 years, we naturalized 6 acres at Beaver Creek, which is quite a bit. We saved roughly $20,000 in fertilizer costs, and we saved over $400,000 in water. It's pretty significant. They say 400,000 gallons. I'm sorry, I say 400,000 gallons of water. Some more best management practices continued. I think we all try and water on a deep and frequent basis, try and get that water as far down into the root structure as we can so that it doesn't just evapotranspirate right off, lets those roots really go far down, which creates a healthier plant. Water uniformly, slowly, and at the correct time of day. I already kind of covered that, but we do a lot of hand watering. I know up at Red Sky, again, to that target watering, you may have an area that's maybe the size of this stage that needs water, and instead of turning on a sprinkler head, we send a guy over with a hose, and he hits just that significant spot right there, and that's all we need to water. So we're reducing our water use right there. We're not worrying about throwing the heads on and maybe having some of it lost to wind. It is a cost. There is a labor cost involved with it, but when you look at the upsides of it, it's a really good way to take care of small areas. The use of drip sub-irrigation in landscape beds. I think most of the areas I've seen commercially and on golf courses are using this type of technology, but we're starting to use it on the golf course and other areas. Bunker faces, things that get dried out real quickly. They're starting to do sub-irrigation on those, and it's turning out to be a pretty useful tool. And then utilizing weather data, both historical and current. Looking at what happened last year. Preparing for that kind of thing. Looking at snow melt totals, things like that. Okay, I know all of us are thinking, what can we do to even increase our efficiency, because this could be somewhat of a drought summer. We don't know yet. Hopefully not, but we're preparing for it already, just in case. There's a guy hand watering. Okay, efficiencies. Efficiency was a big thing with the program. They wanted to make sure that not only were we using our best management practices, but we were looking real deep into an efficiency, not just of irrigation, but of everything. As far as irrigation is concerned, modern technology, auditing the system regularly, and we do it daily. Improving where your heads are located for target use. Designating management zones within the irrigation computer system so that you're watering like species of grass. You might have hot spots that are perennial hot spots, and we can adjust percentages on sprinkler heads so that just that sprinkler head is hitting that area maybe a little bit more or less depending on what we need for it. And then keeping detailed records, so year over year you can look back and you can see where you're having problems or where things are working really well and see why they're working well, and then hopefully adapt them to the rest of the property. It's hole number 10 on the Norman course right there. So the goals of water quality management are kind of detailed here. You need to know what you're protecting and what you could possibly do that would be a detriment to the quality of your water. And that was one of the processes that we went through on our whole property that really hit home as to what we were doing right and wrong. Employ best management practices so that you are not creating runoff or nutrient loading or drift. And then monitor the health of the water features to detect possible movement of nutrients, chemical inputs, and correct problems as needed. So those are the goals. Identifying potential impacts. Where could we run into a problem with the discharge of a pollutant, whether it's leaching, drift, or runoff? Sedimentation. Do we have any areas that don't have turf coverage that maybe we need to get it on, so we're not to Nate's slide, we're